We have an exclusive update regarding the Michael Jackson case. This is a big one, guys. First off, their lawyers withdrew. Also, Dan Reed is up to some serious shenanigans, and you all need to be warned. Welcome to Popcorn Planet. I am Andy Signor. I'm so excited to have our guest back, Jenny Winings. How are you doing, Jenny?
I'm good. How are you today?
I'm doing great, Jenny, but I'm getting sick of every time I say Michael Jackson's innocent, everyone goes, Andy, what?
Story of my life, Andy.
It's very frustrating. I'm glad to have Jenny here. I see you as one of the voice of the fans because you actually met Michael. You were one of those people at Neverland. What a girl was out there at Neverland.
And I was an adult.
It goes against the narratives everyone said. The reality of Michael Jackson, there's so much to uncover, and I've been very vocal in my support because I've done the homework, guys. Sure, were there some things that I might not have done as a parent? Yes, I'm not going to lie about that. And I think Michael made a mistake there, but do I believe he ever crossed the line to do something actually criminal? I don't. There's no proof of it, and he's really defended himself. And the fact that these two keep coming out of the woodwork to try to get some money is really disturbing. And the filmmaker behind it is even more disturbing. It turns out there's more coming. Apparently, what I'm hearing from exclusive sources, there is a Leaving Neverland 2 in the works, and you guys need to be warned about what's coming. I'm not afraid of it, Jenny, but I want us to be informed, and I want us to be prepared, and I want Dan to know that we're paying attention, and we're not going to let him have such an easy time this route. Before we get to that exclusive update, there's something I want to report to everybody because it's not been reported wildly enough. And that's the fact that James and Wade's lawyer has withdrawn. Now, it's very telling. Vince Finaldi was the lawyer. We have the updates here. He's withdrawn from the case. Now, he's done it, and they've substituted a new one. But it's interesting because he left, and it just shows that the lawyer they had was never really going to go to trial because the person they hired was a settlement lawyer. This guy was the guy who got a settlement for Larry Nassar. This guy's notorious for huge global settlement payouts. That's what this literally from the website, Jenny. Look how many millions of dollars this guy gets from settlements. That's who James and Wade hired, and who that guy who now has left because the estate's like, we're not settling. We told you we're not settling. Yep. We're not settling.
Last time I was on with you is when we got the news that they weren't settling.
Correct. Yes, you were there. Exactly. And it was great to hear because they're like, we're not settling. And James and Wade, clearly that's what they wanted, guys. This wasn't about justice or the truth. It was always about money. We've exposed James and Wade and their lies for that forever. But the reality is they've now been swapped out. There is a new lawyer on the case. There's two things I want to talk about. While they removed Finaldi, they've brought in John Carpenter from Carpenter Zuckerman. That's the new attorney. They've signed the official paperwork. It's a substitution is what they call it. But for my purview and what I'm looking at, he's withdrawn because he knows I can't do this, and that was never the goal here.
Yes.
And this isn't a case I can win at trial. That's not a good look for them. Let's keep it a buck, right, Jenny? The fact that they've withdrawn this is a bad,
Especially right now, like the timing is just, it's obvious, I think, to anyone that knows anything about it, that's why he's no longer their lawyer. So
well, and the other interesting thing about it is Wade and Robson and Safechuck also filed requests and successfully, annoyingly, got Judge Young removed. Now, Judge Young is the one who tossed this out in the beginning. But because of that, now they've petitioned and a new judge has come in. New judge appointed was in for the Robson case is Edward B. Morton. And now for the Safechuck case, Michael Wittick. I guess these are now separate things. I hope these two are combined. We'll see as we go, but that's the latest. Also, a full update. The MJ estate has also brought on Jennifer Keller, who repped Kevin Spacey in his win against the Anthony Rapp case. So that's somebody obviously who's got good credentials. A lot of people didn't believe what was going on there with that. And that's case clearly a thing. There's now debating about where this is going to move. We'll see. That we should know. And we may, by the time this released, it may go back to Stanley Mosk. That's where the estate wants it. But those are the sort of final findings. But I wanted you guys all to know that because people aren't reporting on it. And it's, again, a sign that this case is not as good as it needs to be. Now, what I want to go to is Mr. Dan Reed. Dan Reed is out there. While this case is going, I'm hearing through my little birdies, Game of Thrones style, I'm hearing he's out there communicating with fans and preparing a Leaving Neverland 2. He's trying to do this. Why, Jenny? Because money. The first one did so much money for him, got him so much social media clout that he wants to do more. And what was the biggest complaint about that first one, Jenny? The fact that it was full of dishonest, biased nonsense.
Yeah.
Now Dan Reed's trying to beat that by reaching out to the fans through producers names Brandon Ogden, I think it is, Ogborn.
Yeah.
This producer, Brandon Ogborn, has been emailing Michael Jackson fans and trying to sweet talk them into saying that this time around, guys, we heard you. We're going to try to be fair and unbiased. But that's not the case. Jenny has seen some correspondence. You've read some emails and messages that we've been forwarded from fans who choose to not publicly get involved. So we're going to save their, their names and stuff for them. But we have, and I've looked at these emails and messages as well, and I can confirm that there have been multiple fans that have been, reached out to by Dan, and this producer Brandon is who's doing it. Jenny, what was the biggest sort of thing you noticed in these emails from this producer, Brandon, who Dan is now paying to go and find Jackson fans to be interviewed, the perfect Jackson fans to be interviewed? What was your initial reaction?
Well, in some of the emails that I saw between him and some fans, this Brandon guy is obviously, as a Michael fan, we're very cautious on who we talk to ever. And so the fact that somebody's working for Dan Reed should be a stop right away. But I understand some of the fans were asking him questions, trying to figure out Dan's motives. Well, I guess Brandon at one point said that, for the past 30 years, Dan Reed has been fair in all of his documentaries or all of his projects. And it's like, number one, we don't care how fair you've been for 30 years. You 1,000,000,000% were not fair in Leaving Neverland. So I don't care what anyone did in their entire life. But Leaving Neverland was definitely not fair.
And not to interrupt you, for folks who are new to all this, it's important for you guys to know why he wasn't fair. He reshot trauma scenes. He'd have these two sit there and then tell this story of immense trauma. And then he went back months later and refilmed it, put them in the same outfits, but had him tell it again with props that were nonsense props. This was so manipulative and weird. Who would ask someone who's explaining such sensitive trauma, Jenny, to go relive it and do it again, but with props in the same outfit, and then shoot it as if it's clear, like we didn't reshoot it, but he got caught and had to admit he did reshoot it.
Yeah.
Plus, there were whole segments where it happened in the train station that didn't exist. There are so many conflicting problems with this movie. He was editing things, we learned, as it was being released through festivals because he got caught on certain lies. It was filled with lies. There's a documentary you can watch called Lies Leaving Neverland that exposed a lot of this, but I don't want to interrupt you, but I want to make sure people who are still on the fence know we're not just saying this because we're crazy MJ fans. We're saying this because it's not factual. Because
it's not true. And the whole entire Leaving Neverland was debunked by the fans starting day one, and it was completely all debunked. And then, so Brandon says something in his emails to other fans where something along the lines of, Dan sees himself digging the stories that the media botched into single narratives. So Dan wants to fix those. And it's like his whole Leaving Neverland was a single narrative hit piece on Michael Jackson. And this guy is trying to say that Dan Reed is the one that actually goes in and fixes the single narrative that the media botches. It's so ridiculous. And you said earlier, you want to talk about this to let them know we're not scared. We're not scared. They should be scared. They should be really scared now since their lawyer left. None of us are scared. We're the ones that debunked all Leaving Neverland. I'm not ever scared to talk to anyone about it, but Wade and James, they need to be the ones that should be scared, not us.
Yeah, and to be clear, he's putting out this email to the fans, and that's why I just wanted to alert fans. Look, let me say this to Dan Reed, because I'm sure he's watching. Why aren't you coming out and emailing Jenny or I? Why aren't you coming out and speaking to
available, Dan.
The very educated and passionate people who aren't just crazy MJ stans? Yeah. Why aren't you coming to real people who've done the homework and are willing to talk? Because I would talk to you.
And was there, and I've seen Michael with people that, I've seen stuff with my eyes with Michael, and
and the accusers.
Won't contact anyone. Yeah, right. I couldn't think of the word. Right. And he won't come to anybody.
Because it doesn't fit his narrative, Jenny.
Right.
That's what's frustrating. He's writing to some of these fans, and I'm not trying to call it fans, but he's trying to find crazy fans, is what I think he's trying to do, or he's trying to find, people he can use and manipulate to use to his narrative. And I think it's imperative that you guys out there be aware of that. Be careful, because he will use anything he says, you say, against Michael and this thing and the truth. And it's like, look, I everyone can have their own opinions of things. I like to focus on the evidence and the truth, which is what I've gathered in regarding Michael. I've said it and I'll say it again. I believe Michael is innocent and he was never charged. And these two are liars. And I'd love to have that vote that said, Dan Reed chose not to put all that in Leaving Neverland because it was the story of the victims. But these victims aren't victims. And there's a lot that's really important when you're going to stretch out and just focus on these specifics of abuse, which he tried to do to really just get people horrified over these accusations. It's imperative to know, well, is their credibility real? And their credibility is not, especially James Wade, who literally perjured himself on stands as an adult, talking about how much he trusts Michael. Michael never did anything. And then suddenly when he didn't get a Cirque du Soleil show, I'm selling a book. I'm doing a documentary. This guy is skeevy, and Dan Reed knows it. I really firmly believe it. So look, Jenny's not reaching out to us. He's trying to tell these fans in these emails, right, that he's going to be fair and he wants to hear the MJ fan perspective. But it's imperative that you know that's a lie. Because he's already compared Michael Jackson truthers to Corbynites. He's even alluded to the maker of this documentary is talking about a sequel documentary. This isn't my first rodeo. First time I've made a film that's made people angry. And he goes on and talking about that's their plan. And I want to play this clip and I want to come back to you. Here's Dan Reed talking about those fans.
You know, in the wake of the blowback from the Jackson fans, and the kind of denialism that I saw coming out of that body.
He's talking about the Alex Jones Sandy Hook piece he was working on
of people about Wade and James, and here were two guys who were saying, look, when we were kids, this guy behaved improperly with us and molested us, and the first reaction from these thousands or maybe tens of thousands of people is like, they're lying and they're evil people who are out for money or whatever. And I thought,
because they were,
that's and saying all sorts of things about me that none of it's true, obviously. And you're just thinking, what is this corner of the universe where inhabited by these people, and who just make stuff up and because it's kind of what they would like to believe and.
He's literally talking about himself, James and Wade. He wants you to live in a world where you don't challenge him. Don't challenge your documentarian. What he's telling is the truth, right, Jenny? And how dare you not believe it?
What he just said, there are a few things I just wrote down. Saying that we are in denialism. Okay. Also saying that we were saying that they're lying and making things up. And Dan goes, well, they're saying all these things about me and none of it's true. Well, you made an entire one-sided hit piece on Michael Jackson and possibly a second one. None of that was true. And then to say like that or whoever, what did he just say? That someone's making stuff up. Well, he worked with James and Wade and they made everything up. So he is just
reshooting.
He is delusional because he's talking about the Michael Jackson supporters and defenders. Like, we make it up, are in denial, don't want to believe it, and delusional. But really, that is James and Wade, who he's been working with for all these years. Like, I don't understand.
Well, and I want to say it again because I get in trouble from Michael Jackson fans, Jenny, because I'll say, look, yeah, Michael Jackson was weird. I say that and people are like, no, he wasn't. But I'm like, dude, you can't be that famous, that much of a genius, that successful, and not be weird. It just is, because he didn't have the same life we did. And I don't even mean it from
normal.
Yeah,
it's even weird.
It's not
or normal?
normal, exactly. And that
he was
makes
eccentric.
People take such offense to just certain terms you use. But I'll say it. Yeah, there was definitely some strange things about Michael. But at the same time, he was a genius. And what's frustrating to me is, would I have as a parent, let my kids stay overnight with Michael Jackson? No, I wouldn't have. I'm going to always say that. And it's imperative I say that so people don't think I'm just some psycho fan. The reality is I didn't ever believe it, Jenny, and I challenge it. I fell for the lies of Martin Bashir and so many, but then I talked to Taj. I listened to Macaulay. That room they slept in was like a playhouse. You were there. This was
I was in the room.
This is a room where they were just staying up watching movies, playing video games as kids would do. And some might still be mad that Michael was doing that. And now I'm not going to fight people on that. That's the one thing Michael's got to atone for. But did he ever cross a line to do something criminal? Did he ever do anything with those kids? That's what we should be arguing about. And too many people get hung up on the other and refuse to then actually open their mind to say, well, did he actually cross that line? Or was he just a grown-up big kid? And that's, to me, what's so frustrating about a lot of this. Yes, there are fans that will refuse to see any wrong in Michael, but as someone who's sane, I can say those things, right? But I can also say, I'm going to still look into it. And I found out, you know what? I don't believe he did do anything wrong. He did some things I might not have done, but he didn't do anything criminal or anything wrong to a point where I think he deserves all the hate he gets. And then you get someone like Dan Reed who's exploiting it. People like Martin Brashear who exploited how naive, let's call it, Michael was at times.
Yeah.
And frustrating that he was taken advantage of. The media was then, when you go into deeper about the case, right? You lived it too, where people were paying tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars to get them to lie about Michael. And then he goes through a case and he wins. He wins. And it's just, it's so frustrating now that after his death that we're just falling back to, oh yeah, well, these myths and these things that were proven and the people who were there proved it was all nonsense. And the guy can't rest in peace. It really, really bothers me.
Well, but what's funny about what you just said is like the people that were there during the trial and stuff proved he was innocent. Well, guess who the first witness was for the defense who proved he was innocent? Wade Robson. Like,
you were on that list too. So yeah,
I was on the list. Yes.
Just so people know you're legit and we're not just crazy psycho fans. Like you were there, you got to experience the man. That's why I love, because you were able to talk, you can share some of that. The naivety of letting these fans into his home. He trusted these people way too much, which is a negative. It's very positive, but it put him in jeopardy. And I think that's what's so scary about it all.
Well, and I wouldn't even say no fan has ever accused him of anything. It's the people that he brings in, helps, treats has his own family, takes them, helps them financially and stuff. Like, he let his fans in and we were just happy to be there. We had an amazing time. We were grateful. We thanked him and everything. But like, that was it. These other people that are accusing him didn't get what they thought they were going to get out of him. And then all of a sudden it's financial. And like, as fans I never thought I would go to Neverland, let alone spend the night there or anything. That wasn't part of my plan. So just to be there was good enough. I don't need to make up stories for money. It's just, I don't know.
Well, it's frustrating because I do think there's a really good documentary here that Dan Reed refused to make, which is a truthful one about how the media spun things and how the public still believes the rumors and nonsense that they hear. And it's frustrating. And there are some things about Michael that people have to address and acknowledge. But the reality is, even if you address those things, as you uncover the truth, there's no criminal proof that he did any of this. There's no kids that have actually said it.
Right. I just want somebody to show me something that changes my mind. And like we talked about many times, the FBI pretty much looked into him for 10 years and Tom Sneddon wanted him so badly to be in jail that if they found a piece of anything like as big as my fingernail, they would have thrown him in jail and he never went. So if
his privates had matched the image, the description that was given, the man would have been thrown in jail. There were so many opportunities to actually get him. Though he was so vulnerable and he won. He won due to the truth, not because of fancy stuff or whatever.
No.
There's so much more to this case, guys. And it's frustrating because Dan Reed's not making, I want to make the documentary. We're getting into it, Jenny, and I hope you'll help. We are going to get more because I know so many of my audience will still be frustrated with me for saying, how could you, Andy? I think more people need to be enlightened on the truth of this case. And Dan, you're not going to be the only one out there who keeps getting to do this. Do I have your back, Jenny? I think we need to get into more of this background, breaking it down, investigative. As he's prepping, I say we start prepping. What do you think?
Yeah, and I have two things to add. Number one, for the people, because I saw when I was on last time, I saw the comments, and I know right away people are like, how could you? He was crazy. It's like those people, I just want you to like Google, watch Liza Leaving Neverland, watch Square One. Just do that first before they come on your video and start like bashing Michael Jackson. Like at least do something. And then also for any fans out there who get an email from this Brandon guy, do not just don't talk to him.
Forward it to me, please. If you guys were if you got corresponded by Brandon or Dan Reed, I wanted to end that. So thank you for reminding me. You can email us at popcornedplanetteam@gmail.com. You can see it down there. If you've been approached by Dan or Brandon and you want to share your correspondence, we'd love to be aware of what they're doing. We want to be ahead, just like they're trying to be sneaky. Well, we want to be at 10 steps ahead, and we might already be. who knows, Dan, but enjoy this documentary because this time around, Popcorn Planet's around and we're going to keep it honest, unlike last time.
They're not that sneaky since we're talking about it right now because
yeah,
you're
exactly. They think they were, but they're
someone
not.
out. No, and anyone can also send me things. I can get it to Andy. This is just...
Look up Jenny on Twitter, now. Jenny Winings on Twitter. Exactly. You reach out to us if you get it. We'd like to. Obviously, we're not. A lot of fans have reached out. If you tell me you don't want to be out there, I will respect your privacy. I always keep my sources safe. And Dan, we're watching. And Dan, why don't you call? I know you're watching this. Brandon, you're watching this. Why are you going after these weird selective fans? Jenny's right here. I'm right here.
Jenny W526, Instagram,
Hit
Twitter,
us up.
bring it on. Let's go.
What's going on? Why are you lurking in the shadows saying that you're trying to be unbiased? Let's do it louder. Come on the show,
I don't
even,
know.
Dan.
Maybe contact to a single person that knew Michael in real life, like maybe a family member or
no, he doesn't
anybody.
want you. You're a girl, adult woman who's been there. No, that doesn't go. That goes against the narrative. God forbid we give people the other side of this, the truth.
I know.
Dan doesn't want that. We're crazy denialists. This guy's
so crazy. I'm so
Come
crazy.
on, Dan. I don't think you have the guts, Dan, to talk to somebody who's actually going to challenge you. You go in these safe podcasts and with these silos of ignorant people. Let's really get to the truth if you really want to be unbiased. Let's prove it. What do you think? I'm not going to hold my breath, but I've been surprised before. Jenny, always a pleasure. Let's keep this going, guys. We're going to keep you informed on this case and so much more. Jenny, always a pleasure. Thank you for standing up. You guys can reach out to Jenny Winings as well online. You can hit me up. The email's in the description. Popcorned. People think it's Popcorn Planet. Popcorn with an ED. PopcornedPlanetTeam at gmail.com. And you can email us if you have actually some information or correspondence. Please loop us in. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, hit that bell for all alerts, smash that like button, and tell me down below what you think. Do you still do you have an open mind on this? Are you mad at me but open to hearing some more information about Michael? Are you already on that team because you've done the homework? I want to hear your thoughts and comments down below. Guys, thank you so much for watching. Stay tuned for more here on Popcorn Planet.